guys, welcome back to the RevRx podcast where we talk real life, real pain, and real healing. My name is Chad Potts and I'm your host. Today's episode is one that's going to stick with you. I'm joined by JoBeth Polley, a Jesus-loving farm woman, a widow, a mom, a former college instructor, and now a certified grief recovery specialist. You see, JoBeth's story is as raw and honest as it gets. She lost her husband to brain cancer, leaving her a widow at 33. After years of praying and fasting and holding on to hope. But here's the thing, instead of walking away from God when everything went in a different way than she had hoped, she pressed in. She's going to talk to us about losing and grieving over things that you never had, like her battle with infertility, and the deep pain of watching the love of your life slowly fade away. This episode is real, it's gritty, it's full of hope. So whether you're walking through loss or you know someone who is, or you just need to understand grief better, this one is for you. Let's get into it. I introduce to you my new friend, JoBeth Polley. Thank you so much, JoBeth, for being here on the podcast with us. What a privilege it is to have you here on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I love hearing another Southerner. I'd mentioned to you about my accent. You said I don't hear an accent, so love that. But JoBeth, can you just give us, before we get into your story, which is powerful, can you just give us a brief overview of who is JoBeth and help our listeners get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah, so I'm in Arkansas. So yeah, I don't hear an accent in your voice at all. I've been told that I have one as well. So I grew up here in Arkansas, been here my whole life, had a good childhood, and came out of school, wanted to do something in life that would be meaningful and help people. I remember driving down the road one day and being like, I just want to help people. And the very next thought was, but you ain't been through nothing. Like, you haven't been through anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, good point. So I went to teaching. And so became a teacher, and then, did the normal, get married and did all that stuff, and then went through some really hard stuff, which is why I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
Went through some really hard things that led me to be a grief recovery specialist, where I help people to walk through the really darkest days of grief, which sometimes is the following days and sometimes it's years later, depending on the person, of course. But that's what got me to where I'm at today. And I was also an athlete, loved basketball, was a basketball player all through high school, played a couple years in college. And so if you ask locally who's JoBeth, it probably would answer she's a basketball player.
Basketball player. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely that identity has taken a turn in the last few years.
Awesome. That's perfect. And, one of the things that I've been drawn to you about is this story in which God is glorified through it, but it's not an easy story. I found a post of yours, which was where we first connected. And you described yourself this way, if I can read this.
Yeah.
I'm a Jesus-loving farm woman walking out a radically surrendered life after devastating loss. And to me, that description is what caught me. I'll be honest, I don't look at a lot of those posts on some of these Christian podcasting sites, but I saw that and I'm like, yeah, I need to talk to her.
Yeah.
Because God's doing some cool things with your story. You mentioned that you're going down the road, you're like, I want to help people, but I haven't been through anything. And that's relatable, right? A lot of times I'm convinced that it's the things that we've been delivered from that we're really put on this earth to help others through. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you're doing with some of your grief counseling. So tell us a little bit about your story of loss. You mentioned that you went through school, you got married, you did all the things, you checked all the boxes that society tells you need to check, but then life took a turn. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. So life has been a roller coaster. Very high highs and some really low lows. And getting out of college, being married, everything's good. And then we start the first downhill plummet. And that's when my husband and I found out we wouldn't be able to have kids. And that was so devastating and such a strange loss of losing something that you never had. It's so weird and as a female going through that time and watching all your friends and my sister and everybody was getting pregnant and having babies, and here we couldn't. And it was just devastating month after month of, negative pregnancy tests, and it just was overwhelming. It was consuming. It consumed us emotionally and financially. Friendships became hard because we had friends that were having babies and we were excited, but we were also grieving so deeply. I think that's one thing that we experience a lot as humans that we think is like wrong or it's unfamiliar, are these two extreme emotions at the same time. And the first time I remember feeling that was when my sister found out she was pregnant, and we had found out the day before that we wouldn't be able to have kids. And those two emotions, it was like, I was so excited and so happy, and like I was going to get to be an aunt, and then I was just like, it was just like over the top. And then at the same time, I was like, and this is the closest I'm ever going to be to a pregnancy. And so like my sister was super gracious, and she included me in every part of it and really allowed me to experience it through her. And I'm grateful for that. And then we gave up. We're like, okay, this is not going to work, and got so tired of being disappointed. And so we ended up adopting through foster care, and we knew that was going to be full of disappointment as well. But it looked like the best route to becoming parents. It definitely seemed like the most noble route to take. Mm-hmm. And so we did that. We had our kids. Everything was just like perfect for 5 years. It was like our kids were 7 and 1 when we got them. Or was that right? No, 8, 7 and 2. My son was about to turn 8, and everything was just perfect. It was like they had their little bedrooms, and everybody was happy, and it was so good. And we bought a farm here a little bit closer to my parents, and my husband's career was like taking off and doing so good. He was a contractor. It was just like calls constantly, people wanting him to work, and like name your price type of thing, where everything was just going so well. And I was a public speaking instructor at the University of Arkansas, and I worked online, so that allowed me to homeschool my kids and to do Perfect. That.
Yeah.
My husband built our home. Like it was just like I was driving a new car. It was like life was so good until it wasn't.
The American dream, right?
The American dream. It was as picture perfect as you could ask for. We have a White House on 120 acres, and finances were fine. Mm-hmm. Like there was so much. It was great. It was great. And I say that great, also recognizing that we had a normal marriage where we fought and didn't get along and had issues just like anybody else would. Definitely not fairy telling my story in that regard, but it was pretty good. And then my husband's personality, I didn't recognize it as a personality change. I recognized it as our marriage was starting to fall apart. That's what it looked like. He was picking fights, which was super immature and not really something we did, blaming me for stupid stuff. I was just like, what the heck? And I was in this office right here with my best friend, and I said, I don't know how long I can do this. Like it's just every time I turn around, it's like something's a problem. And about 2 weeks later, he started getting really bad headaches. Like couldn't get out of bed, bad headaches. And I took him to the urgent care. They took him back, did a CT, came out so quickly and said, you have a huge mass on the front of your brain. You need to go to the ER immediately. They know you're coming, but this is very serious. So I go to the next room and I call my dad, and I was like, he may not live. I don't know what's going on. I know how sick he is. And they said it's really serious. And I wanted my dad to be there because if he died, I didn't want to be there alone. Like I was just like, this is very bad. We went to the ER. They got him right back for an MRI. And within a couple hours, he had been diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is a terminal brain cancer. There is no cure for it. There is treatment. Treatment prolongs life. I'm a very optimistic person. And I was like devastated, of course. The world went black, Chad. It was just like nothing mattered anymore. Nothing. His career didn't matter. Our house didn't matter. The kids were like, I was worried about them, but like I had to take care of my husband. And it's like, but then it's like the kids. It's like,
they're still here.
Oh my gosh, we have kids. Yeah. And like nothing mattered. Nothing mattered except for getting him better. Everything I read said you can give him more time, but you can't. There's no cure. He will die from this. And the doctor handed us a pamphlet that said, glioblastoma in 12 to 16 months. And I was just like, no, this can't be happening. And We fought it. I was like, we're going to get you the best doctors. I'm going to have you on every holistic thing you can think of. I'm going to be praying. I'm going to be fasting. From the moment it happened, I knew he was going to be okay. Knew he was going to beat it. He was going to be that one. And we were going to use this story and we were going to go tell people about how God saved him. And that was going to be his testimony. It was going to be my testimony, because like with as many people as we knew that loved Travis and loved God, God was going to save him. I didn't have any question. I went to as far as when he was at MD Anderson, I wrote a speech because I was in it. I was all in. There is no other way. I wrote a speech that I was going to tell from a stage at MD Anderson, talking about how wonderful the doctors there were and how they saved my husband. And I was going to have him come out on stage and thank them for, the research and the work they're doing. I mean, like I was there in I didn't think there was going to be another way. And he slowly declined. I think we had one good doctor visit in 8 months where they said the tumors had shrunk. There wasn't a part of me that didn't believe he wasn't going to live. And I was all in on it. I prayed, fasted. People in our church were fasting. There are people across the world praying for him. I heard I was getting videos of people praying in different languages for him. And I was like, how much more could you ask for?
Yeah, this is bound to work.
Yeah, it's bound to work. And then I realized it wasn't going to. And I was like, okay. My prayer was always to God. You can heal him and let him stay, or you can take him to be at home with you. And whichever one you choose, I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here. It was a commitment that I made from the beginning, because even though I was so committed, there is no other way. I knew what I was being told every doctor's appointment. And these people weren't just blowing smoke or trying to discourage me. They knew. And I knew that it was possible I was going to lose my husband, and I wasn't going to lose God in the process. And I was committed to that. I think as Christians, we give ourselves a lot of freedom. We're like, we serve a big God. He can handle anything. And we're like, he can handle my emotions and he can handle it. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that's the last person I want to be like a jerk to. It's the last person I want to turn against. Like, if I don't have God, who do I have?
Wow.
Because I'll tell you, it was isolating. I was surrounded by people. But at night, when I would go in my room and I would shut the door, it was me and God. That was it. And I was committed to that the whole time. And I felt very committed to trying to save my husband. I mean, he was never mine to save, but it felt like I had to do everything that I could. And finally, towards the end of his life, I was just praying, crying out to God, what do I do? Do we take him to Mexico? Do we try all these things, these seemingly strange protocols here in the United States that people are doing, like the dog wormer and stuff? I'm like, what do we do? And I heard very clearly from God, you've done everything you can, my child.
Wow.
Let him go. Like, it was just like, let him go. And I stood up and I was like, okay, so now we start preparing for the end. And at that point, he had what appeared to be like a late stage dementia, where he didn't know. He thought we lived in a cabin. He didn't know which room was his in the house. He got really paranoid. He was very uncomfortable. And at that point, I decided to check him into hospice early, which was way earlier than what is recommended. But you hear, gosh, especially in the South, guys be like, if I ever get like that, just shoot me.
Yep.
Yep. Don't let me suffer, and I had to make an executive decision with him to check him into hospice and basically expedite the dying process, where we took him off of everything that was keeping him alive, the brain swelling stuff and everything, just so that he didn't have to be here and suffer any longer. And that was a disgusting decision to have to make. But I knew at that point that there was no coming back from what had happened. He was very brain damaged. And the cancer was spreading like crazy. So he passed away, and I started the process of healing and getting better. And I very much treated my recovery and my healing like a business. It was not something I messed around with. I said yes to things I needed to say yes to. I said no to things that I needed to say no to. I cared absolutely zero what anybody thought. about things. I was very close with my therapist and some spiritual leaders that I was going to for guidance. But I did what I had to do to be okay. And most importantly, I had 2 kids who were grieving. They had a dad for 5 years and then they lost him. And I was going to be the one that was going to be there to walk them through a process with carrying my own broken heart and sorrows of being widowed at 32 years old.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your transparency with that. That's not an easy journey to recall, I'm sure, but it's part of your story. And your story doesn't end there, and I want to get there. But before we do, I think we need to spend some time here. And, a lot of what you just said, I think, is maybe some people's worst nightmare, if I'm just honest.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we think, if I had to do life without my spouse, I don't know what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably thought that too, until you had to. And you kind of had a couple of different stories of grief that you shared with us. First was infertility.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that grieving something you never had. And then there was the loss of your husband, and that was kind of a more gradual process, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But, grief can show up in a lot of different ways, can it? Can you take us to that moment where you realized, all right, he's not going to get better? Because I can relate to that optimism, especially, with him being so young. I've been affected by cancer and different things all around me. And I think most people have.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, he's 32, 33.
He's 40. He's older than me.
Okay. You were that age. He's young. I'm 41. So that hits home. He's young. He can fight through this. And then there's this thought that if enough people pray, and I want to spend some time there. If enough people pray, or if we do the right things, or if we try hard enough, or if we give it to God enough, then he will get better.
Yeah.
What do you do? What did you do? How did that feel? Walk us through that of when you realized nothing's working. And how did that, I guess, affect your relationship with God? You shared, and I love that you shared that I wasn't going to lose God too. I was going to lose my husband. I wasn't going to lose God too. But maybe there were some moments where you're like, what's going on here? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, we believe as Christians that God's all-knowing. We know He is good.
Mm-hmm.
The saying, God is good all the time, God is good. Like, how is my husband dying a slow death like this good?
Wow.
That's like, and if anybody who's listening that's lost somebody, you felt that, like, you're like, that's very conflicting ideas. And I can't understand it or explain it. But the guy who preached Trav's funeral and a friend of his, he said, he's like, I know God's character. And because of that, like, I can let that be enough, and I think that we have to do that. We're not all knowing. And I imagine almost like getting to heaven and being like, so
can you talk about this?
Can you show me how this was good? Like, can you show me? And, I don't know how it's going to go, but I imagine him like opening up this book and being like, this person heard your podcast and, they were going to end their life that day, but they didn't. And I see, this story makes me so emotional every time, but a friend of his called me and he said, I just wanted to let you know I go to church now and I've stopped drinking. And he said, it's because of Travis. And I was just like, maybe that was the reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
One person came to God, one person decided to turn their life around because of seeing his journey, And, even if that one story is it, one person's soul was saved because of my husband's death. And if I had to guess, that's just the only one I know about.
Yes.
And so I have to believe. And I think once again, it goes back to us thinking we need to know everything. Yeah. We need to understand everything. We're not. Okay. We're just not. Like, it's not ours to figure out. We just have to cling to God and really just to wholeheartedly believe that He's good. It's easy to believe He's good when you just built your new house. Yes. And you're driving a new car and you got these cute little kids and your husband's making a lot of money. Like, yeah, God is good.
Mm-hmm.
Is God still good when you're sitting there with those 2 kids beside his casket crying? Is he still good? Yeah, he is. And we have to have that mindset as Christians that no matter what, we're still going to believe and not give ourselves the choice to believe anything other than that. And so, like, what was in my mind when I went from like praying and being consistent prayer, begging for him to be healed, letting this be his testimony, to being like, okay, it's fine. Like you're basically, he's done. This is his story. Silence. What do I say?
Mm-hmm.
What do you say? Like when you're like, oh, okay, so the answer is no. Again, because I also wanted to be a mom and have kids, and you said no to that. No, I want to keep my husband around, and you're saying no to that too. Like what? What? And it was silence. I would wake up in the mornings and just be like, and whisper, Jesus, are you there? Because like I need you here with me because I don't know what I'm doing or how to do it. But a lot of silence. Recommitting. Hey, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything to say. I realize I still live in this house. I'm still driving that car. I still have these 2 kids. I have family that loves me. I have a good job. I have a support system that would blow yours out of the water. It's like I had everything that I could possibly need. And I couldn't utter the words, thank you. Just felt so defeated. But I remained in my commitment not to go anywhere. And the Bible talks about, we don't have to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can just be present with God. And that's where I was at because my words were not there. Was I totally devastated? Yes. Did it make me question God? Yeah, it made me really curious about who he actually was.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? Because this is different, because if a person in the flesh would have done this, I would have nothing to do with them ever again.
Right.
But this is God, and I believe he's good. So who are you? And I dove headfirst into my Bible and just wanting to know, like, who are you? Now somebody I'm really close to is in heaven, so I'd like to know more about that too. Like, it really caused a deep dive in my spiritual life. But it was a choice, and I think that's so dangerous. I hear so many people, they're just like angry at God and they're mad at God, and I'm like, you don't know how dangerous that is.
Yeah.
They leave the church, they quit praying or being present with God.
Mm-hmm.
But it all started because they opened the door of it being a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's really powerful, all that you just walked through with us. And I just want to say that, I haven't been there, but you walking through this with us helps us see this whole concept of trusting God. Because, your friend who preached the funeral, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I know the nature of God. I know his character, and that's enough for me. Because, how can that be good?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't good at all. There's nothing good about this. But do I trust God despite the fact that all the evidence looks contrary to that? Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm sure that there's moments where along the way you were still holding out for hope until the very end. But there was that moment where you had to just kind of say, all right, God, I've done enough. I've done all I can.
Mm-hmm.
And so then let me ask you this. What's it like to grieve, balancing your own grief, but then also supporting your children who had a father for 5 years and then had to experience that loss alongside you? That's got to be hard.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to my mind is kids typically grieve how they see their parents grieving, right? So if mommy gets sad and then she runs off to her bedroom and shuts and locks the door, oh, is that what I want my kid to do? No, definitely not. I want them to come to me. Let me hold them through that, let them cry in front of me. So then there's the first thing I thought, I was just having that balance of crying in front of them. Mm-hmm. And not crying in front of them because I'm they need to know that mommy's feeling this and also mommy's okay. Mm-hmm. And can take care of us, because if I cried in front of them as much as I was crying, they would have been and nothing is okay. She's not okay. I'm not okay. Daddy's not here. So there's that.
Good point.
Yeah. So I was okay, trying to judge in my mind where the threshold of too much is at. But doing that, but also when I realized he was dying we started going to therapy as the three of us.
Mhm.
My husband, he wouldn't go. Like I said, his brain was very much affected. And so he was not in a place where he would participate. But we would go, okay, this is what we're anticipating happening. You know, we need a plan for afterwards. Like what we're going to have fun. We're going to get the help we need. We're going to be really sad. We went through all like kind of anticipating what was coming, talked about the funeral, talked about how, you know, he was going to die and where he would die at. And, you know, just education is so important. And that's one thing I learned at hospice was they were like, when you tell them that he died, you need to tell them that he died. Kids understand this was alive, now it's dead, when it's, you know, a bug or something gets ran over or something, you know. But a lot of times we tippy toe around that word. We don't want to say he's dead. Like he died. It sounds harsh. It sounds cruel, but they understand it. And they told me the story about this one little girl who they told her that grandpa's batteries died.
Mhm.
And she was like very confused because like her batteries died in her stuff all the time and they just put new batteries in it. So she was like, put new batteries in him.
I can see that. Yeah.
Like, you know, let's be real. Being real honest. Like, I'm really sad, man. The song makes me sad. Do we have to listen to it? Or like, you know, just being very authentic in front of them about things hurting and, you know, opening the door for it to be okay for them too. And that I took my recovery very seriously because I was like, if I'm not okay, how are they supposed to be okay? They're kids. And so I was in therapy. I was reading the books. I was doing the journaling. I started working out really hard. I started taking ice baths in the morning because I was like, I'm going to take this head on because I was like, these kids, like, how are they supposed to be okay? And so they saw me grieve in a very healthy way. I was on the treadmill. I was listening to sad music. I was, you know, going to therapy. And so like, okay, this is what it looks like. Balancing things. My therapist actually told me that I needed to start watching TV because if it wasn't contributing to my recovery, I wasn't doing it. I probably went to the extreme.
Yeah. You were all in, just like you were all in before.
Yeah, like that's me. I'm either all in or I'm not coming. Like that's how I am. But just letting them know that everything, that I could handle it. I think that's one of the saddest things when kids feel like their emotions are too big for their parents.
Yes.
And so telling them like, there's not an emotion that you have that I can't handle. Is it going to tear my heart in two? Yeah. Also handling things the hard way and the right way instead of the easy way and the wrong way. One day, my daughter, not too long after he died, she was in the back seat and she was crying and I'm like, what's wrong? And she was like, I miss Daddy. And she was so sad and she was in her little booster seat and I was like, oh my gosh. And there was a McDonald's right there. And I was like, ice cream. That's the answer.
Yeah.
The answer is ice cream. And so I turned away from McDonald's and I drove home. Didn't go get the ice cream.
Yeah.
I was like, she needs to feel every bit of this because this is normal. She doesn't need to learn that an ice cream is going to make her feel better, which it totally would have.
I've never been sad eating an ice cream.
Nobody. Like if you see somebody crying eating ice cream, their tears are drying. Like they're getting better, you know?
Yeah.
But that was hard because I wanted to fix it.
Yeah. What are you teaching them through that?
Yeah. Food's going to fix it. Food's not bringing your dad back. So we're going to drive home in silence and you're going to feel how sad it is. Oh gosh, that sounds cruel. But like what's more cruel? Teaching her how to cope wrong. So anyways, that's kind of how we did, but taking care of ourselves, sleeping, we slowed life way down.
Yeah. Yeah.
To allow ourselves that space.
Well, there's, you know, I love this. I love that story, especially the story about the ice cream and turning around because you're so right. So many times in life, number one, we're taught coping mechanisms early on as children. We're taught how to cope. Number two, a lot of those coping mechanisms are killing us. This isn't the right, platform for this. We're not talking about health, but that's, different conversation for a different day. But you're right. One of the reasons for the epidemic that we're seeing in our world today of obesity and that sort of things, because we teach people from childhood, cover it up with your feelings, cover your feelings up with food. And what you were teaching them and what you've learned through the grieving process is feel it, which is the opposite of what we want to do, right? We want to cover it up. We don't want to feel it. And so we go down a lot of really bad paths. trying to mask it.
Yeah.
And so in the grief process, what I hear you saying is it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel grief. You need to feel it.
Yeah. And we're in the South where it's like you kind of just like suck it up,
Yep.
get yourself together.
Yeah.
There's a song that's like, it's by Miranda Lambert, and it's not a Christian song for sure. But she's like, her mama's way of doing things. My mama's broken heart. And it's like, fix your makeup and fix your hair and put a smile on your face and get back out there. And part of that is a Southern thing where, you know, that death is a part of life. You know, you deal with it and you go on. Get back to work. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. Like, you know, we're not going to, and that's another thing in maybe all cultures and across the world, but we want to get busy. Being busy is the same as eating the ice cream cone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a distraction from what you need to be doing. And so working is more productive than ice cream. But you talked about the things that we covered up with and the work that I do. It's called STIRBs, short-term energy relieving behaviors. What can I do that's going to make this feel better? So, I don't want to do this. I'm going to go on social media. Mm-hmm. I was buying animals. I bought so many chickens and everybody knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
But it was like, she has enough money to buy the chickens. Like they're still going to eat. Just go with her to pick them up, you know? But like, it was just a dopamine hit. I was like, oh, they're cute. It's fun. And here's some more chickens. And, you know.
I knew I liked you. We have chickens too.
And so, I mean, it was just a little dopamine hit for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of times that it's not like a gateway, but like people will turn to something, and sometimes, a lot of times it's alcohol, it's drugs.
Yeah.
It is something very destructive to your life.
Because we don't like pain. No. We don't like discomfort. We want to do whatever we can to numb the pain and to avoid the discomfort. And part of the grieving process, I believe, and you teach, is facing it head on. Mm-hmm. And you did that. And, you know, I'm sure I want to talk about the process of grief just briefly, because I feel like we could talk about this for 2 hours, but I mean, it's not just all at one time, although, you know, you're probably going to be strongest right away. But from all the people I've counseled with and helped through this process, there are these tides that come and go, right? Mm-hmm. And if you avoid it and then you avoid it and then you avoid it, it seems like that you're just pressing it down and pressing it down and pressing it down, and you're never really dealing with it. So how do you come alongside people that are grieving now and helping them when it's, number one, face things head on, but then two, when those tides come and go, you know, you get through it now, but it's going to come back. Mm-hmm. Especially if you never deal with it. So what's your thought process as far as that goes, as, you know, you're never done grieving.
Right. Yeah. What a sad concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
That like, we're never going to be done with this. And I'm experiencing something similar right now. I've had a dog for almost 14 years, and I'm about to have to put her down. And I was supposed to put her down today, and I didn't, because I was like, I just can't do it. She is symbolic of a life that I used to have with my husband and with, you know, certain people that are not my life anymore. And we talk about in the work that I do, how grief is like, we carry it in a backpack and we throw these stones in, and I'm like, man, Lily's going to break my straps because I'm about to freak out. And I was like, okay, we can't put her down. It's not happening. Not today.
Eventually.
Not today. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do, but not today.
We got a podcast today.
I have a podcast today, unless I would not have been able to anyways. But it does. You think you've dealt with something and then it comes up. But I think it goes back to being educated again and understanding that, like, if you have a bad day or a bad week, that doesn't mean that, like, it doesn't mean anything except for you are having a normal reaction to grief. You experienced something that was terribly painful, that took mm-hmm. something from you that was very valuable, whether it was a divorce or a diagnosis or a disease, a disaster, a death, like whatever it was, like you lost something really important to you, and you would be crazy to think that you could grieve this in a year or 6 months and just never worry about it again. So you deal with it. You sit with your emotions, and that is so hard to do. Because what if you have to work that day? Mm-hmm. What are your kids going to think? What is your husband going to think? Are your friends and family, like, are they so tired of seeing you grieve? Probably. Honestly, they probably are. Just from the people I've talked to, your family gets tired of it.
Yeah. Get over it.
Yeah, get over it. It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years. Like,
it's been long enough.
Yeah. And so you just have to feel it. Working with a coach or a counselor is super helpful. Friends and family are not the best because most likely if you experience something, so did they. They probably a secondhand experience loss to them. And so getting somebody to help you and just to tell you like, hey, yeah, normal. Go listen to some sad music and sit in your car and try to just get all that out, cry until your face hurts, and then wash your face and move on with your day. Like you're just, it's part of it. But to think that you're not going to, I mean, I feel fully committed to grieve and be sad about my husband dying for the rest of my life. With that being said, though, I think it's very important that you learn to live alongside your grief. A lot of people are committed to basically shutting their lives down and be like, it's like how they I'm honoring this person by grieving and losing relationships and possibly my job. And like, that's how I'm honoring them. They don't say that, but that's what they're thinking.
Well, and it's almost like the fear of the opposite. I don't want to dishonor them by not grieving. Mm-hmm. I don't want to dishonor them by moving on with my life. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you're right. In a way, it's just kind of like honoring their legacy or their memory by staying stuck.
Yeah. And I've asked people, okay, so let's say the guy's name is John. If John was here and he was watching you, would he be honored by the way you're living your life right now? No. Like, he wouldn't. Like, nobody that we love that we have lost would be like, yes, I want them to suffer as long as possible and be so sad. Like, I want them to be 5-10 years down the road and still not able to go to Walmart or go to church.
I want them to be gripped by this. I want them to be crippled, Yeah.
No, that's not what our loved ones would want for us. And I think it's a good perspective to keep in mind. Like, how would they want me to handle this? Well, let me tell you, they would want you to miss them probably forever, like to fill your vacancy, but they want to see you on vacation. They want to see you thriving in your career. They want to see you playing with your kids. They want to see you playing with your grandkids and, building a life because you're here. You don't have a choice. You got to do something with it. And I feel confident that all of our loved ones that have gone would be like, yeah, do something with yourself.
And everybody grieves differently, right?
Gosh, yes.
And so there are some general concepts I think that's helpful for everybody, but then realizing that, all right, so say family members did go through the same thing you did, you all are going to grieve in a different way. Mm-hmm. Some will be more prolonged than others, but not judging someone else because they grieve differently than you, or they grieve longer than you, or they grieve deeper than you, or whatever phrase you want to put in there, I think is important. And so that kind of leads me to something I'd like to wrap up with, and it's this concept of maybe a little lighthearted, but friends and family may not be the best at helping you grieve, because friends and family say things in moments like this with very good intentions, especially down here in the South, very good intentions that aren't helpful whatsoever. Imagine you've experienced that. Would you mind sharing some of that with us? Some of the things, so maybe you're not experiencing grief. You're listening to this. You're not experiencing grief now. I promise you will. That's not it's just part of it. And when you do experience grief, I'm convinced that you're never really the same. When you experience loss like that, you're never the same. But you can still live alongside your grief. And I love that part of your story. But what do we say to others when they're grieving? Or more importantly, what do we not say to others when they're grieving? Can you share with us some of both of those things maybe?
Yeah, so we call those intellectually true but emotionally unhelpful statements.
Okay, yeah.
Let me give you a few. He's in a better place. Magic, I'm healed. Thank you. I will never be sad again.
So helpful.
Yeah, you were a good wife. You will find somebody else. You're young and beautiful. There'll be somebody else come along. You were really good to him. You did everything you could. Oh gosh, man, when people bring God into it, it just irritates me.
Well,
God needed another angel. God needed him more than we do. I'm like, I swear, I may kill somebody if you say that in front of one of my kids. Don't tie God to the most painful experience of their life.
No.
Don't do that. Oh, no. It was God that hurt you.
God caused this. Yeah.
I swear I would probably take somebody out if they said that in front of my kids. Like, don't talk that trash. Anyways, you start seeing like a ghetto side of me, like come out, be like,
your voice changed a little bit.
Like, don't do that. What do we say though to people? Because I had a lot of people say a lot of things to me and I'm like, wow, that was sweet. I don't feel any better. Who do you think you are that somebody can lose somebody and you can say a word that's going to make them feel better? You can't. I always joke that you should say, I love you. Mm-hmm. If you mean it. You should say, I'm praying for you if you actually are. And like, we know
Yeah.
we know who's praying and who's just saying that.
We say, I'm praying for you, and we use that as a substitute for I'm thinking of you right now.
Right.
Mm.
It doesn't change anything. Both exist at the same time. And so there's nothing. A lot of times when people lose a child, they're like, well, thank goodness you still have other kids. Or, and then people give you advice, be strong for your kids, stay busy. I will never forget the Christmas after my husband died. The kids had like 17,000 Christmas things each. And it was my first Christmas without my husband. And I was like running ragged trying to get them to all their things, plus basketball season and stuff. And my mom called to check in on me and she's like, how are you? And I was like, I'm about to lose my mind. Like, I'm running in 1,000 different directions. And she was like, well, it makes me feel better to know that you're busy. And I was like, yeah, I'm glad it makes you feel better.
At least you're feeling better.
I'm glad you feel better about it. But I almost completely crashed because it was so much. But yeah, everybody has their theories about how you grieve and they want to give you advice. Like, just be strong for your kids, not good advice. Stay busy, not good advice, stuff like that. But yeah, just offer to be. The best things I found is just people showing up and not wanting to talk to me. Like, and that's a specific way. Like, I know people who are like, I want people here. I want to talk to people. And I'm like, you being here literally gives me one more thing I have to do today. Like, I need to be doing anything, sleeping, watching TV, exercising. I don't want to be talking to you. Could you just leave the groceries and like knock when you're walking away? Like, how rude is that? But like, I couldn't entertain people. Yeah. So everybody's different.
Yeah, they are. And but I think the general thing here, kind of the take home, be there.
Mm-hmm.
However they want you to be there. Pray for them, think of them, love on them, but respect the fact that there's nothing you can say that can make that better. So stop trying.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Stop trying to say something that will make them feel better, because that's not going to take the pain away.
Yeah.
And a lot of those platitudes make things worse. But yeah, JoBeth, this has been so good. Thank you for your raw, real story. This has been one of my favorite conversations, to be honest.
Thank you.
I love how transparent you've been through this. You're helping others in that grief process now. Can you tell my listeners how to enter into your world and to find out more about you and the work you're doing?
Yeah. So the best place to contact me is on Facebook, and that's JoBeth Polley, Polley. I'm most active there. I think that one of the best things people can do is take a step. And I offer everybody and anybody just a 30-minute conversation where I can listen to what you're going through and be like, okay, this would be a good step. Sometimes that's working with me, going through the grief recovery method with me, or going through it as a group with other people who are grieving. But I find a lot of times too, I get on the phone with people and it's like, oh, you need to go to rehab. You need therapy and this. But a lot of people just don't take the first step. And I think that when you contact me and let me talk to you, or not talk to you, listen to you for a little bit, I can give you kind of a 30,000 foot view on what you're dealing with, because I'm not your mom, I'm not your sister. And I can be like, I can be like, okay, this is obviously what I think would be a good next step, but just take one step in the right direction, because sitting still is only going to guarantee that this time next year, you're going to be in the exact same spot.
Yep. Love it. I'll put links to that in the show notes too, but thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for glorifying God through this tragedy. And I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show, for helping our listeners to take that next step and to be a little bit closer to the person they were called to be. JoBeth, bless you, and pray blessings on you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the RevRx podcast. We hope you enjoyed what you heard today, and if so, we'd love it if you would hit that subscribe button so that you'll never miss a new episode from us. Also, feel free to leave us reviews and comments, as we'd love to hear from you. Be blessed and be the very best you.